Hello everyone and welcome to another very nice game from the third leg of the FIDE Grand Prix. It's the semifinals, Shakhriyar Mamedyarov versus Hikaru Nakamura. The first classical games, or rather the two only classical games they played ended in a draw, and now they go into rapid tiebreaks. And the first rapid tiebreak game was won by Hikaru, where he had the white pieces. Now Mamedyarov has the white pieces, and he will of course try to win and force further tiebreaks. Now it's always very interesting when you have tiebreaks and then one player wins the first game, the other one tends to get very, very wild, as is the case here. So without further ado, let's check it out. Shakhriyar with the white pieces opens with c4. Sorry about that. We have knight to f6 by Hikaru, countering the English defense this way. We have g3, e5, and now bishop to g2, grabbing hold of this beautiful diagonal. We have c6 now, countering the light square bishop, preparing to further develop in the center with a move like d5. So d4, we have e captures on d4, queen captures, and now as you can develop the knight to c6, there's a pawn there. We're gonna play knight to a6, and that way we guard the c5 square so we can develop our bishop to this very active square. So knight to c3, we have bishop to c5, and now queen back to d1. We have castles by Hikaru, and Shakhriyar goes knight to f3. He also prepares the castle, d6 now, and here we have castles. We have bishop to e6, and now the c4 pawn is attacked. We play b3. So if you look at this position, one should, or rather would prefer white. The bishop is coming here. The two bishops will be nicely fianchettoed. All the pieces are very harmoniously developed, whereas Hikaru's pieces are still not all there in the game. The knight still has to go back to c6, c7, then find its way back into the game. We still have to develop the rook. So it's a perfectly fine position, but white should be preferred here. And as Mamedyarov allowed it, now Hikaru will execute the d5. And there is one game where knight to g5 was played, just going after the light square bishop, also opening up this bishop, but here we have c captures on d5, and it is now, as of move 11, that we have a completely new game. So Hikaru trades, we have knight captures on d5. All the trades favor Hikaru. He won the first game, now a draw gets him to the finals. So knight to e4, declining the trade, and the bishop back to e7. We of course want to keep the bishop pair. Bishop to b2, grabbing hold of this diagonal, and now knight to f6. Hikaru offers more trades. We have knight e to g5, and now as the queen trade is on the table, Hikaru just trades. Queen captures on d1, rook a captures on d1, and now what do you play here? Well, the bishop on e6 is attacked, and Hikaru doesn't want to lose the bishop pair for nothing, so he brings the bishop back to c8. Now, this is a very brave move. First of all, you are once again disconnecting your rook, so you are going to have to develop your light square bishop again, and you still have to bring this knight into the game. So here, Mamedyarov is just up in development. So knight to d4, opening up the light square bishop as well, and now rook to e8. Here, Mamedyarov sets a little trap, and maybe Hikaru should play something like h6 first to get rid of the knight and then bring the rook into the game, but he plays it right away, and now Mamedyarov gets the pull off his plan, and that is knight captures on c6, grabbing two pawns, and then of course once the bishop captures, you will be attacking both rooks here. So b captures on c6, bishop captures on c6, and now bishop to f5. You have to give up one of the rooks, but now Mamedyarov doesn't grab the rook right away. First e4, attacking the bishop, bishop back to g6, and now this pawn will be a liability once the light square bishop is traded, so you're gonna have to do something about it. And Mamedyarov plays f3. E5 would have been much better, but it's a rapid game. You don't have all the time in the world, so you have to settle for things here and then. So f3, defending on e4, and now knight to g4. This beautiful move is what gives Hikaru the just the opportunity to equalize on the spot. Now he's threatening to pick up the knight here, and also this knight to e3 going for the rook fork here will be more than enough for him. So bishop back to c1, Now, not only defending the knight, but guarding the e3 square from the knight, and bishop to c5 with check. We have king to g2, and now knight to e3 check. Hikaru now wins the bishop pair. Bishop captures, we have bishop captures, and now knight to h3. The knight on g5 is still hanging, so knight h3, and now knight to b4, getting the knight into the game and forcing the bishop to finally capture one of the rooks. So bishop captures on e8, rook captures on e8, and now knight to f4. f4. And if you look at this position, Mamedyarov's position is, well, it's very nice. He has a rook for 2 bishops, which doesn't seem like much, but he is up 2 pawns. And what do you do here? The problem is if you capture the knight, for example, captures, then the light square bishop is no longer really in the game, and the white will be just much better here. So Hikaru grabs the a2 pawn. He says, all right, you were up 2 pawns, now you are up 1 pawn, but now comes knight to d5, attacking the bishop here, so bishop back to c5, and now rook to a1, attacking the knight, and then, of course, the a7 pawn will fall as well. So knight to b4, we have knight captures on b4, bishop captures, and rook captures on a7. And now you have this position where Mamedyarov is still up 2 pawns, and he also has a passed b pawn, so that's very dangerous. The problem is Hikaru still has the bishop pair, and he has the opportunity to open up the game, and with the king wide open, the bishop pair will be a deadly duo. So he starts with f5. Now, there's no way to keep the position close. You have to play something. So here we have captures, and now rook to e2 check first. We have king to h1, or you could block with rook to f2, but after rook to f2, we just captures, and bishop to c5 check picks up the other rook. So not something you want to do. And it would still be pretty interesting. For example, king moves, we're going to capture on a7, pawn captures bishop, here h captures. You have all of these pawns against the bishop. With perfect play, it might be a draw, but you will have to work for it. So instead, after rook to e2 check, king to h1 is played, but now Hikaru gets even more counterplay. Bishop captures on f5, rook to b7, attacking the bishop here, and now not moving the bishop, but rather bishop to h3, offering that bishop for a rook on f1. So what do you play here? Well, Mamedyarov doesn't want to see Hikaru's bishop on c5, because if this bishop comes to c5, then bishop to g2 will just be checkmate. So he blocks this, he plays rook to c1, prevents bishop to c5, but the position is still completely lost for Mamedyarov. So feel free to pause the video and find the absolute quickest way to win for Hikaru. It's actually a forced checkmate in 7, while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on spotting that the move Mamedyarov tried to prevent is the exact move that actually wins the game for Hikaru the quickest. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is of course bishop to c5. This is what Hikaru played, and it was in this position on move 34 that Mamedyarov Shakhriyar resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. The problem is we are guarding the g1 square, and bishop to g2 will be checkmate on the next move, and of course you cannot just capture the bishop, because then rook to e1 is checkmate. The king has no squares. So the only thing you could do after bishop to c5 is go for some rook b8 check, maybe king f7, rook to b7 check, and then after king to e6 you run out of checks. Or you could start giving up pieces. You're gonna have to play rook to g1, but now we just play bishop to g2 check, and we even give up some material for checkmate. Rook captures on g2, rook to e1 check. Now the only move is rook to g1 for white, and of course rook captures on g1 will be checkmate. So of course Mamedyarov saw all of this after bishop to c5 was played, and it was in this position that he resigned the game. So brilliant games by both of them, especially in the classical time format. But in the rapid section, Hikaru once again shows that he is indeed the speed demon by winning both of the rapid games, and now he will face Wesley So in the finals of the third leg of the FIDE Grand Prix, and we'll see how that will work out. We're going to cover some of the games, or maybe even all of the games. It is the finals. We'll see what the games will be like. So yeah, very impressive stuff by Hikaru, one of the candidates of the 2022 FIDE Candidates Tournament. Very much looking forward to that, and I know you guys are as well. And I know we all know, of course, that Magnus said that he will only play Alireza if Alireza wins the Candidates Tournament. But I could not imagine, for example, if Hikaru wins the Candidates, that Magnus would not play Hikaru. I think that would definitely be the most viewed World Chess Championship match ever played, well, considering how many followers both of them have. But yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Once again, congratulations if you found this bishop to c5 idea. Really, really wonderful stuff. I would like to thank Adam Tomczyk, FIDE, OpenSea Smoky Dule, and Richard McKevin for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check two of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of the Grand Prix, checking up on your wonderful suggestions, and whatever else happens in the chess world. Thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your weekend.